understanding, and the tolerance that would enable us so to order our work and shape our decisions that they might serve to abolish mankind's ancient fears, to assuage its hurts, and to forward the fulfillment of its eternal hopes. Amen. Wa akhiru da'wana anil hamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Special procedure of dealing with this matter prior to the adoption of the agenda has been used on earlier occasions in order to give the newly independent states which have requested membership of our organization the opportunity to participate from the outset in the work of the present session. The Assembly has before it a number of draft resolutions recommending the admission of new members. The Security Council in each case has unanimously recommended positive action to be taken by the Assembly. I therefore take it that the Assembly may also wish to be given the opportunity to receive each of these new members one by acclamation. If it is agreeable to the Assembly, I shall first put to the vote the draft resolutions in the order in which they were recommending the admission of the Republic of Rwanda to membership in the United Nations. The Assembly has before it a draft resolution that the Republic of Rwanda, may I take it that the Assembly decides by acclamation to receive the Republic of Rwanda as a member of the United Nations. It is so decided. Next candidate for admission is the Kingdom of Burundi. The Assembly will now vote on the draft resolution sponsored by Belgium of Burundi admitted to membership of the United Nations. I understand that the delegation of the Kingdom of Burundi are arriving this afternoon. The third candidate for membership is Jamaica. The draft resolution recommending the admission of Jamaica to membership is sponsored by Australia, Canada, Ceylon, Cyprus, Ethiopia, the Federation of Malaya, Ghana, India, New Zealand, Nigeria, Pakistan, Sierra Leone, Tanganyika, and the United Kingdom. Document AL 389 and Addendum 1. If there is no objection, I shall declare Jamaica admitted to membership of the United Nations. I call on the Chief of Protocol to escort the delegation of Jamaica to its seat in the Assembly Hall. I now call on the distinguished delegate of Belgium.
this organization here today. It has been rightly said that the principles of the Charter are by far greater than the organization in which they are embodied, and the aims which they are to safeguard are holier than the policy of any single nation or people. The task before us then is to unite our efforts to make the United Nations a more perfect union of states and truer mirror of its principles, to the end that its aim may prevail over the policies of any single nation or group of nations. In this great task, may not the peoples of the world look to the solidarity of small state members to transform the organization into an instrument for the progressive realization of a true world order of peace, freedom and justice. Theirs was the chorus for peace in Suez crisis of 1956. Theirs has been the vote for freedom in decolonization of the world. Theirs has been the voice of conscience when justice has been at stake. Man has embarked upon the mission to reach out for distant planets. His greatest mission remains here, on earth, this earth, to live in peace and be just with his fellow men. Now, if these things happen, thus shall suffering humanity attain that measure of great peace for which it has yearned throughout the ages. Mr. President, I thank you again, and I thank you all, ladies and gentlemen, for giving me this opportunity to address you. Thank you very much.
On behalf of the Assembly, I thank the President of Pakistan for the words of wisdom that he has addressed to us. I am sure the Assembly has listened to them with great attention and keen interest, and shall draw from them such guidance and benefit as they are capable of yielding. I shall now, with the Acting Secretary General, accompany His Excellency the President of Pakistan from the hall, so that the work of the Assembly may not be interrupted while I am away from the chair. I request the distinguished representative of Australia to take the chair while this kind of demonstration continues, I may have to direct that the galleries be cleared of all visitors. Will the President kindly proceed?
Continue. ¿Puedo continuar? Al uso de la palabra.
The Assembly at the very next interruption, I shall adjourn the Assembly for 5 minutes till all visitors are cleared from the galleries. Proceed.
Estas son cuestiones, señores delegados, que os preocupan a todos ustedes. Son
I thank His Excellency the President of Cuba for his address. Despite certain regrettable attempts at interruption, the Assembly has listened with attention to the address, and I have no doubt will draw from it such guidance as it may be capable of yielding with reference to the subjects which the Assembly will be called upon to consider. I shall now, with the Acting Secretary General, accompany His Excellency the President of the Republic of Cuba from the hall. The sitting is suspended for the few minutes that I shall be absent till I invite the distinguished representative of the Democratic and Popular Republic of Algeria. I invite His Royal Highness to address the General Assembly.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
The Assembly will now hear a statement by His Royal Highness Prince Hassan al-Reza al-Senussi, Crown Prince of the United Kingdom of Libya. I request the Chief of Protocol to escort Prince Hassan into the hall.
السلام والمحبة.
On behalf of the General Assembly, I thank His Royal Highness for the address he has just made. The thoughts he has expressed will be given careful consideration by all the representatives here present. I shall now accompany the Secretary General to escort His Royal Highness out of the hall. I would request that representatives remain seated till His Royal Highness has been escorted out of the hall. Subject to that, the meeting. On the admission of Uganda to membership of the United Nations, and document A/5255, which is the report of the Security Council on the matter. The Security Council has recommended Uganda for membership of the United Nations. I have received no request for a vote on the draft resolution. In the absence of such a request, I shall consider that the General Assembly decides by acclamation to admit Uganda to membership of the United Nations. It is so decided, and I declare Uganda admitted to membership of the United Nations. I request the Chief of Protocol to escort the delegation of Uganda to its temporary seat in the Assembly. It gives me United Nations both in the service of its own people and in the service of humanity. It is proposed that the meeting will be suspended for a few minutes so that we might proceed.
Mr. President,
of the death of Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt, the news came to all of us with a sense of profound shock. I need not on this occasion attempt a review of Mrs. Roosevelt's outstanding contribution to the United Nations ever since the inception of the organization. She served as a member of successive United States delegations and as a member of the United Nations Commission on Human Rights and of the Commission on the Rights of Women. All her varied activities reflected her devotion to the cause of enriching the life of all peoples everywhere without distinction as to race, sex, language, or religion. Through her work, her personal example, her generous support of many humanitarian causes, especially those sponsored by the United Nations, Mrs. Roosevelt has left us a deepened understanding of the words, the dignity and worth of the human person. Members of the General Assembly to stand and observe a minute of silence in memory of Mrs. Eleanor Roosevelt. I recognize the distinguished representative. The 1182nd plenary meeting of the General Assembly is called to order. The Assembly has before it document A/5255 5322 containing a communication dated November 30, 1962 from the President of the Security Council addressed to the President of the General Assembly. It reads, quote, I have the honor to inform you that the Security Council at its 1026th meeting held in private on November 30, 1962 unanimously adopted the following resolution. The Security Council, having considered the question of the appointment of the Secretary General of the United Nations in accordance with Article 97 of the Charter, recommends to the General Assembly to appoint U Thant as Secretary General of the United Nations for a term expiring on November 3, 1966, unquote. In connection with this recommendation of the Security Council, the Assembly has before it a draft resolution in document A/L406 submitted jointly by Chile, Ghana, Ireland, Romania, the United Arab Republic and Venezuela. I call on the representative of the United Arab Republic
will strengthen understanding and cooperation. In concluding,
now invite the Assembly to take a decision on the draft resolution contained in document L406. This draft resolution proposes the appointment of His Excellency U Thant as Secretary General of the United Nations for a term of office expiring on 3rd November 1966. In accordance with Rule 142 of the Rules of Procedure, the vote on the draft resolution contained in document A/L406 will be by secret ballot. Ballot papers will be distributed. Those in favor of the draft resolution will write yes on their ballot paper. Only the word yes, no names. Those who are in favor, those who are not in favor of the draft resolution will write the word no. I request the representatives of Mali and Norway to act as tellers and to come to the rostrum. The result of the ballot is as follows. In favor of the resolution, 109, against none, abstentions none. The draft resolution is adopted unanimously, and I have the honor to announce that His Excellency U Thant has been appointed Secretary General of the United Nations by the General Assembly for a term of office expiring on 3rd November 1966. For General Assembly Affairs to escort His Excellency U Thant to his seat on the podium. The General Assembly has appointed you as Secretary General of the United Nations for a term of office expiring on 3rd November 1966. Mr. Secretary General, it is for me a great pleasure and a great joy that I am in a position to be the first to express to you my warmest and most sincere congratulations for the renewed confidence that the General Assembly has placed in you in appointing you to the post of Secretary General of our organization. Having regard to the relationship that has for many years subsisted between you and me, I could have kept the Assembly for several minutes in giving expression to my great joy on this very happy occasion. But there are many who wish to express on their behalf and on behalf of their colleagues their equal joy and satisfaction at your appointment. Part of what I said just over a year ago when you assumed the duties, your present duties as acting Secretary General. I quote, "We wish to give expression to our sense of great relief and satisfaction that this great organization has once again a worthy chief at its head. This sense of relief and satisfaction is colored with deep rejoicing that the choice has fallen on U Thant, a man so dear to our hearts and fully deserving in every respect of our esteem and confidence. Asia has yielded up of the Security Council, having considered the question of the appointment of the Secretary General of the United Nations in accordance with Article 97 of the Charter, recommends to the General Assembly to appoint U Thant as Secretary General of the United Nations for a term expiring on November 3, 1966, unquote. In connection with this recommendation of the Security Council, the Assembly has before it a draft resolution in document A/L406 submitted jointly by Chile, Ghana, Ireland, Romania, the United Arab Republic and Venezuela. In accordance with Rule 142 of the Rules of Procedure, the vote on the draft resolution contained in document A/L406 will be by secret ballot. Ballot papers will be distributed. I wish to thank His Excellency for the address he has just made. The thoughts he has expressed will be given careful consideration by all the representatives here present. I shall now, with the Secretary General, accompany His Excellency from the hall. The meeting is suspended for the few minutes that I shall be absent until I return to the chair, when the Assembly will take up item 2 on the agenda. In favor of the draft resolution 74, opposed 3, abstentions 23. The draft resolution is adopted. This concludes the business committed to the 17th session of the Assembly. I beg your pardon. Explanation of votes after vote. I recognize the distinguished representative of the United Kingdom. I have been requested to give the floor to the distinguished representative of Yemen for a statement. This concludes the business that was committed. The Assembly had laid upon me the duty of either setting up a committee by nomination or of enlarging committees or a working group that were already in existence. I had decided not to take any action till the last of these resolutions was adopted, as I knew that there would be certain considerations of adjustment between groups and states with regard to the membership of these committees and the working group. The last of these resolutions was adopted only a short time ago, and during the interval I have striven diligently. Mr. Representative of Colombia, esteemed colleagues, the moment has come for me to render back to you the trust which you, in the generosity of your hearts and overlooking my many shortcomings, had committed into my hands a matter of 3 months ago. If I beg your indulgence to express the hope that you may receive this trust back undamaged and untarnished, I give no credit for it to myself. For me, it was a great honor to have been so entrusted, and the guarding of this trust and the endeavor to discharge its responsibility has been a rich, a rewarding, and a revealing experience. It would not be right to say that I am deeply moved. I am indeed overwhelmed by the expression you have given to your feelings and to your appreciation concerning the work that all of us together are concluding this evening. And yours a very Merry Christmas and a very Happy New Year. A new year that will bring fresh challenges. New year that will require the fulfillment of what you have been planning here. Is that all praise is due to God, who has created, nourishes, sustains, and leads towards
que d'avoir voulu les honorer. Merci, Monsieur le Président.
I now recognize the distinguished representative of the Byelorussian Soviet Socialist Republic. By reason of my chairmanship of the Pakistan delegation, in accordance with Rule 30 of the Rules of Procedure, I declare open the 4th special session of the General Assembly. I invite the representatives to stand and observe 1 minute of silent prayer or meditation. We shall proceed to the appointment. I shall do everything in my power to deserve that confidence. May I, on my part, express the hope that this special session will work in the same spirit in which the 17th session worked. That is to say, a spirit of genuine cooperation with the sole desire to achieve the objectives of the United Nations Charter, which we are all committed to uphold. All of us deem it a great honor to represent our respective governments and states in this august body. But I am certain also that we are also conscious to the second and third proposals made by the representative of Tunisia, which refer to the adoption of the agenda. The representative of Tunisia has proposed that the agenda be considered by the plenary forthwith without reference to the General Committee. In the absence of any objection, I now ask the Assembly whether there is any objection to the adoption of the agenda as contained in documents. We now come to the allocation of the 2 items. You may take it that the Assembly agrees to the proposal of the representative of Tunisia that the item on the financial situation in accordance with the decision just taken by the Assembly, we shall proceed to the consideration of the item entitled Admission of New Members to the United Nations. The Security Council has unanimously recommended that the General Assembly should admit Kuwait to membership in the United Nations. In this connection, the Assembly has before it a draft resolution sponsored by several delegations in document A/L 4204 and Addendum 1. I recognize the distinguished representative of Jordan. May I take it that the General Assembly decides by acclamation to accept the recommendation of the Security Council and to receive Kuwait as a member of the United Nations. So decided. I declare Kuwait admitted to membership of the United Nations, and I would request the Chief of Protocol to escort the delegation of Kuwait to its seat in the Assembly Hall. The result of the ballot is as follows. Number of ballot papers cast 110. Invalid ballots none. Valid ballots 110. Abstentions 11. Number of members voting 99. The required majority 50. His Excellency Dr. Carlos Sosa Rodriguez has obtained 99 votes, and it is my very great pleasure to confirm that His Excellency Dr. Carlos Sosa Rodriguez of Venezuela has been unanimously elected President of the 18th session of the General Assembly. In extending my sincere congratulations to Dr. Carlos Sosa Rodriguez, I have the pleasure to hand over the responsibilities of this high office into his capable hands, and I invite him to come to the rostrum and take the chair.
N'est qu'un jalon et pas encore une étape.
Mankind around the globe mourns the sudden and tragic passing away of the chief watchman, in his own phrase, quote, on the walls of world freedom, unquote. He was the youngest man elected to shoulder the heavy responsibilities of his exalted office, and that at a time when those responsibilities had been multiplied manifold, and the problems that the holder of that office was called upon to resolve had assumed global proportions. The courage, devotion, and vigilance that he brought to bear on the discharge of those responsibilities have been universally acknowledged and been borne witness to. In the discharge of those
Je déclare ouverte la 17e session ordinaire de l'Assemblée générale.
Following the traditional moment of silent prayer, the Assembly proceeded to elect a new president. When the votes were counted, a distinguished jurist and diplomat had been elected. He is Muhammad Zafrulla Khan of Pakistan.
fellow delegates, I am deeply moved at the honor you have done me in electing me to serve you as President of this 17th session of the General Assembly. I am deeply conscious of the heavy responsibility this mark of your confidence places upon my shoulders. And I pray God humbly, sincerely, and earnestly of His grace and mercy so to guide me in His wisdom that in the discharge of my responsibilities I might prove worthy of your confidence.